everybody, welcome back. Josh Cantwell here, and I'm really excited to be with you today to talk about marketing, to talk about wholesaling, to talk about hyper buyers. And I've invited one of our superstars, is one of our sort of newer members for about a year. She's been involved in our high-end Masters Elite coaching program for about 6 months. And she is a super busy mother and investor and operator of her husband's dental office and a super successful wholesaler and investor. And so, Cheryl, thanks for joining us today. How are you?
Awesome. It's a beautiful day here in Chicagoland. That's unusual.
Yeah. And whether you have today, I'll have in about 36 hours. So thanks for ruining my tomorrow.
This is beautiful right now.
All right. Well, that's good if it's good today. Sometimes I talk to Kyle, and for those of you that don't know, Kyle is our head coach and one of my good buddies who works side by side with me to deliver our high-end Masters Elite coaching program. And Cheryl is one of Kyle's students, and Kyle and I are good friends, and they're up in Chicago. So if they have good weather, that's what I get. And 36 hours later, if they've got rain and snow, that's what I get. But it's good. So Cheryl, how long you've been investing and kind of what your focus is right now.
Okay, don't mind me moving, but you're cutting in and out, so I'm going to find a better location. But meanwhile,
Sure.
now you'll see the beautiful weather that we have. Oh, but then I go away. I'm going to try this.
Keep moving around. It's actually kind of fun to watch you aimlessly around the house there.
Right? I'm just trying to get by a window, hoping that I get better reception. Yeah. So we'll figure it out, I promise. I've been investing for about a year now. I had a couple of deals before I started your program, and then really jump-started when I signed up in Las Vegas in October. So since then, it was about, almost 6 months, and I had done, well, at the 6 months mark, I had done over $500,000 in net profit and over 20 plus deals, the majority of them being wholesale deals. But the wholesale deals that I've had have been even, the fees have been higher than some of the rehabs. So it's been kind of cool. I love it.
So yeah, I would too. I would too if I was you. Oh, that's fantastic. So we were just talking before we got going here live that you closed a deal last month, and it was a monster deal. So let's frame that up. Give us the numbers of what you were able to get it for under contract and what you sold it for. So let's start with that.
Okay, so it was my biggest deal ever. It was my first six-figure month, and the deal alone was 6 figures. So that was really cool. It was in a city called Park Ridge, which is a higher end area. And typically I haven't been able to wholesale in those areas as well. Most of my deals have come from more of the rental market or the lower income areas where it can be rehabbed and flipped, or where it can be fixed and rented. But this one came to me on a vacant postcard, and actually the woman hung up on Pat Live because she couldn't hear. So I called back. I went there, got it under contract at $100,000 even, with me paying the closing costs. So all she had was her tax proration. And then literally that weekend, I reached out to a couple of buyers, sent it over, had it under contract to close within my same 30 days at $255,000 and double close same days, in and done. Yay.
Yes, that's fantastic. So for those of you that don't know, when you're doing a wholesale deal, and there's 2 ways to close. You can either assign your contract, which means you have the property under contract, and you can offer your contract to someone else. They step into your contract, and they basically buy your contract for an assignment fee. That's the first way. The second way, which is what Cheryl just did, which is what she should have done, because when you have a huge profit and you're really concerned that your buyer might freak out because you got it way down here and you're selling it way up here, you might want to double close it. And all that means is the property is sold from the seller to you. So that's what we call the A to B transaction. And then you sell it from you to your end buyer. That's the B to C transaction. So A to B, B to C. And there's actually 2 closings with 2 settlement statements, and both deals get funded with what's called transactional funding. It's basically dough for a day. So Cheryl, tell us about that buyer. A lot of the folks that are in this training are really focused on, number one, finding their buyers first, and then going out and finding inventory for a small group of select buyers, and then kind of offering their properties to those buyers first. And if those buyers don't want the property, then they can go out and do their regular local marketing. So where did the buyer for this particular deal come from?
This one was a builder, because this one ended up being a tear down in that area because it was a little too small, and had some foundation issues. So this builder I had found on a deal a couple months ago, where I sold him another tear down, much smaller profit on that one, but you know, got the deal done. And that one I did do, as you described, an assignment fee. So I got an assignment fee for $5,000 on that one, for a tear down in Arlington Heights. And so when I knew this was a tear down, I reached out directly to him for it, because I do exactly as you described, where he was a builder. I knew he liked Park Ridge, so he was first on my list. I told a couple other people about it. It was kind of a fight, and the builder won. That's kind of how that
All right. So he's sort of one of your hyper buyers, right? He's got cash, he's got private money, he's got construction financing, he's got resources and experience. And so if you know that you find a deal that fits in his box, which you found those two so far, you just kind of offer it to him first, right?
Correct. And he's told me he has a couple locations that are really hot, and that if I see anything in those areas that's a tear down, he's in. Just let him know.
Perfect. And that, you guys, again, if this is your first video that you watch, or one of the videos and trainings that you watch inside of our program, that is the essence of the concept of working with a hyper buyer, somebody with a lot of experience, maybe a builder or experienced rehabber with resources, with private money or their own cash or bank financing. And you just got to know what that person is, kind of the inventory they want to buy. You just got to go find that and just connect the dots. So you said the seller came from a vacant postcard. So tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I do a lot of bandit signs personally, and I do a lot of postcards, a bunch of different lists between the same ones you've all heard, vacant, absentee owner, pre-foreclosure, probate. And it was a vacant one, and I have Pat Live set up. And so she had called Pat Live, and she's a bit hard of hearing, and the Pat Live rep couldn't hear. But since those calls are recorded and I call back all numbers, hang-ups are great ones, then, and she said she would call back, but she never did. And I called back that same day saying, you know, I saw we missed a call from you, heard that you couldn't hear on the call. I wanted to follow up. And she told me right about the house. And then I went out that next day and got it.
That's fun. Great. Fantastic. So tell me about those buyers that you have, this group of sort of regular recurring buyers that you consistently try to work with and try to find them deals. Is there anything special that you do to locate those new buyers? Or are they people that when you have, maybe you have a deal under contract in the past and they've maybe called on your marketing and then you thought, wow, this is an experienced investor. I got to, you know, find as many deals for this guy or this gal as possible. But what are some of the things, if anything, maybe there's nothing special, but what are some of the things that you've done to find those buyers and then stay in touch with them and be sort of that top of mind reference for them, that you have a deal, you can get it to them, they can evaluate it quickly. What are some tips that you might have for finding?
I think that this builder that I found, I had in the area, because I knew it was a tear down and I personally had never worked with a builder. So I drove up and down the street. There were other builders, you know, other houses being built in that area. So it was really easy. When I got the contract signed, I just drove up and down the street and I started calling the builder signs. And they were all very interested, but this one had the money and ready to go. I talked to a couple others. One wouldn't have the money for a few months, but was very interested. I have not done as good of a job keeping in touch with him because, you know, he didn't perform for me. But once someone performs, like you said, I know he has the cash. I know what he likes. I know he wants to get it done. So he's first on my list, and then I'll reach out to others. I had some that we took down with private money, and then we put on the MLS. and I found another really good buyer from there. She said she's really trying to expand, and you know, so we keep in touch all the time. We're like pals. She also said that I was the best wholesaler that she ever worked with. And the reasons being, that I left meat on the bone. A lot of the wholesalers, I think when they're new, they try and take too much of the profit versus just getting deals done. And if you make sure it's a good deal and you perform and they perform, then it's going to happen again. And you can definitely tell at that point that, she's doing multiple deals. She's trying to expand. And now, honestly, she reaches out to me all the time going, what do you got for me? What do you got for me? What do you got for me? And I have one of those in another city that I gave it to him really cheap. I got it for 10 grand, sold it to him for 20. It was probably still worth, you know, 40 as it sat. And he put like 10 grand in. It's probably worth close to 70. And he's always reaching out to me. So I think if you can give them a good deal, they're easy to find. I also put a lot of signs locally because I'm a sign girl. So, you know, cheap house this way, drive by, and I'll put crazy posters in, not in a nice area, but in some areas, like I said, the rental markets, whatever, some gaudy signs that say cheap house, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, put the cash price right on there and my phone number, and things sell in an hour. Crazy.
Yeah. Because people are like, they see that that's usually if you put the price especially, you don't even have to put the address. There might not even be an address, right? It might just be marketing to build buyers. So, but you put the price because then people are like, well, that's low. That's a low price for this market. I don't know how much work it needs yet, but that's a low price. I'm going to call and just see what they got. You see a lot of bandit signs for motivated sellers. That's a really cool technique to find buyers from those types of signs.
Absolutely.
What's also interesting, Cheryl, which I love, is that, and especially when you're talking with private lenders, but giving stuff to receiving. So that essentially is I give my buyers a great deal, and now they're coming back to you over and over and over again to say, hey, Cheryl, what else do you have? Cheryl, what else do you have?
Mm-hmm. They keep me working.
About this idea of, yeah, right? Absolutely. They want, now you got half the equation solved. You got the buyer equation solved. Now you just got to go find inventory for those buyers. Cheryl, tell me a little bit about your buyers list. I mean, most investors kind of think you have this myth, this misconception that I have to have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of buyers on my list. It's really not the case. You know, if you have 4 or 5 or a half a dozen really solid, dependable, recurring buyers, and then maybe another stable of guys that you kind of market to, but you don't really need to have a monster buyers list. So just talk to that for a second.
Yeah, I don't have a monsters buyers list. In fact, I barely have a buyers list. I have the few that I've worked with and that I know what they want. And they're the first ones on these that I found from, like I said, either putting it on the MLS, driving down the road, some of the bandit signs. And those that perform are automatically my top buyers. And if they perform again, they're even a better top buyer. Outside of that, if they call off a sign, I mean, they'll become one of my buyers. I do keep, you know, some of that information. But a lot of people, I find you have to screen them like sellers, the buyers, that they aren't real cash buyers all the time. And I want real cash buyers. So they tell me that by coming to one of my houses, I make them put $5,000 down of non-refundable earnest money. They become a buyer. If they can't do that, then they're not really a buyer. Ultimately, I work in a lot of different areas based on the houses that come into me. So, you know, I don't always know where they are. So like I said, if it meets the criteria of one of my regular buyers, then it goes there. If not, then I'm going to be marketing and adding to my buyers list that way. I have not personally gone out and developed, like you said, you know, the thousands of buyers or hundreds of buyers in any way, shape, or form. And I know people that do say that they have those lists, and they'll say, oh, I have, you know, hundreds of cash buyers for you. And I said, are they active cash buyers that can close, or are they 108?
Right. Exactly. Big difference. Big difference. So, Cheryl, you're working with these buyers that you have, the small group. How do you communicate with them? I think sometimes there's this myth that you have to be some exotic marketer. When I talk to my guys, just text them.
Yeah, most of mine at this point, they're text. And I mean, we have some phone calls, but for the most part, it's text. Hey, I've got this address, this price, and literally when they want it, and a lot of people feel they're starving for deals right now, they can't find it. You literally get a, yes, I'll meet you with the $5,000, send me the contract.
Right, simple as that. You got a deal, looks good, I'll bring check in hand, cash, ready to go. Fantastic. So Cheryl, if you're looking for, just talk to me for a second about, you mentioned you love signs and you mentioned direct mail. So just talk to that for a minute and then we'll kind of wrap up. So just sure. What are some of the strategies that you're using for seller leads to get inventory to send to your buyers?
I'm a big sign person. I feel that people on signs, I've found them in my area to be more motivated than those on postcards. There's a lot of postcards going out. I've had people that call from postcards, and I get plenty of houses. I got this one I just told you from a vacant postcard. Sometimes I can tell you they'll come with, I mean, stacks. They'll even give me the postcards that they get from people, and I'll ask them why they chose mine. Some simple reasons. One is we put on there, it says, God bless. And then believe it or not, the name Cheryl, a girl's name on their cells. Same thing on the bandit signs. I have 3 different signs I've told you. I have one of my regular branding signs is yellow with blue writing, says we buy houses cash fast, and has 1 phone number so that people are used to seeing that all over. I have a second sign that's handwritten that says, let's see, sell your house, no equity, no problem. And people respond to handwritten postcards well and handwritten signs. And then my third sign is yellow with hot pink. It says Cheryl buys houses. And that one by far performs the best. And I think it's because, again, that there's a girl's name on it and it stands out. There's not a ton of female real estate investors. And it's very powerful on that one when Cheryl calls versus anyone else. So it's interesting if they talk to Pat Live, but when Cheryl calls, people listen. And in fact, I had someone just yesterday say, are you the Cheryl with Cheryl Buys Houses? I said, yes, that's me. I'm Cheryl.
You're a rock star. People love you. That's awesome. So yellow sign, the background is yellow, and actually the lettering, Cheryl Buys Houses, is hot pink, right? With a phone number.
And kind of like a more handwritten font on that one, but the white signs, the no equity ones, are actually handwritten with marker.
Got it. So just to connect the dots and kind of summarize, guys, you know, Cheryl's working with kind of inventory first. She was getting deals under contract, found deals, kind of did some marketing to sell her first couple of deals. That marketing, and then now she's got those buyers performing on her hyper buyers list. Now it becomes an issue of reverse engineering the process. Now that she knows what these hyper buyers want, she can then find inventory for them. Or other ways to find hyper buyers include things like going to RIA clubs, calling on other people's bandit signs, calling on other people's websites, and simply finding out what exactly are they looking for, finding that, you know, and getting that sort of warm and fuzzy feeling that they're going to be able to perform. And then it's just finding out what their criteria is. Are they a landlord that likes to buy rental properties and maybe they're willing to pay 80 cents on the dollar? Are they rehabbers that want, you know, big discounted deals because they need equity to flip them? Are they builders that want to even buy dirt and land, you know, or houses that are tear downs? It's just about kind of vetting that out. It's a very simple conversation, talking to a buyer and finding out, saying, hey, if I could find you more deals that it's the ideal deal for you, what does that ideal deal look like? What areas, what cities, what zip codes, what price points, what loan to value, or what price to value do you want to be at? Very simple. So Cheryl, go ahead.
Calls, just so you know, I do get everybody calls off my signs, and I do call off of all of their signs too. Yeah,
fantastic. So Cheryl, as we kind of wrap up, is there any kind of parting words or words of encouragement or final strategies or anything else you'd like to add?
I'm a big believer of, as you know, just taking action, just going and doing it. I think a lot of people are really scared and they want the numbers to be right. And I will tell you, my first deal, my numbers were all wrong and I still made money. Like now I would never have done that deal. And I think sometimes we overanalyze and we work too hard and we want everything to be right. In this day and age with this market, I firmly believe get the deal, put it under contract, and let the market speak to you by putting it out to buyers, and you'll figure it out. You have room to renegotiate, you have an inspection period, and if they're motivated, you'll get it done. It's cool.
Fantastic. So there you have it, guys. Thanks to so much, Cheryl, for joining us for this quick interview and some of those real quick hitting tips and strategies. That was awesome. Look forward to seeing all of our clients and students inside of our next interview. Can't wait to bring you some more content that'll help you build an amazing business. Thanks for being with us today, Cheryl. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.